Hi, this is Damien Marie AtHope, and I am an Axiological Atheist. And I'm here with John. John, could you please tell us your name and what kind of atheist you are?
My name is John Stevens, and I'm a strong atheist and a humanist as well. And when I mean strong atheist, when I say strong atheist, I mean to say I feel that we have sufficient evidence and counter evidence to say that the gods that are claimed to us don't exist.
Okay. I'm also a strong atheist. So, I would like to know, when did you first realize you were an atheist?
That's almost a two-part question
Okay.
because I first realized I was an atheist around 25.
Okay.
But I had been a non-believer for a couple of years before that. And let me explain.
Yeah, explain that, please. I was going to say, explain that, please.
When I was younger, I was studying apologetics to be a Christian apologist, and it just kind of didn't work for me. And I can go into that a little bit more later if you'd like. But essentially, I became not a Christian. I still believed in a God for a bit, and then after I became not a Christian, I kind of looked for a God, and then I kind of thought, well, maybe a God doesn't exist, and you're gonna love this. Maybe the universe is God.
Right.
So
Pantheism.
I kind of held those positions a little bit.
So was it deism or pantheism?
It kind of went to, it was a sliding scale. It was deism, and then into pantheism.
Okay.
And then I kind of just realized, I should be hitting these ideas just as hard as I hit the ones where I was a Christian.
Right. So
And that's when I realized I'm an atheist.
Okay. So when you say Christian, what kind of Christian were you? Because there's a lot of that word. There's a lot of kinds of Christians. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. We were non-denominational Christians. But for anybody that knows or has ever been to a non-denominational church, that's essentially fundamentalism. They take the Bible as literally true, or at least we did.
Right.
I mean, maybe there's non-denominationals out there that are different, but they take the Bible. So it's sola scriptura, basically what Paul said, just the script, just the Bible. So when you're coming from that kind of position, there's no evolution. It's all God. It's all the Bible and it's all God.
Right. Yeah. I was raised in non-denominational, but my mom didn't have a problem, sort of, I guess, with evolution. She was definitely about the Bible, but she felt that evolution was just how the God made the world work, which it doesn't make sense to me, but.
Can I go on a little tangent for a second?
Oh, please do.
It's funny you said that because my whole family, I'm the dumb one for thinking that evolution is true. I'm the dumb one in my family for that. And so and this is still when I was a Christian, I was having a problem because the sciences, when I was learning the science when I was about maybe 16.
Right.
I'm looking at the science and I'm going, wow, this has got to be true. Come on, there's so much evidence. And I remember when I came to the epiphany and I went, oh, I've got to be the first person who thought of this. Evolution is the way God did it.
Yeah.
And I had two of those moments, and I'll tell you the other one later, where I just went, let me look if anybody else has thought of this.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they have.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not new ideas. Well, I think in general that anything that a believer is challenged with, in a sense, if they want to keep belief, has to go, well, God did it. So no matter what you show, what you do, what it is, the end result, if you want to keep belief, is always, well, somehow that works with God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's these gradual step backs that believers do. And in almost any religion too. The gradual step backs. Well, God controls gravity, or God controls the planet's orbit. Well, no, God just set it up that way.
Yeah.
God designed us. Well, no, God just set up the conditions for us to evolve. You know, and I find that when I'm debating or arguing with believers, that they'll do the same thing in the mid-argument. It'll be, well, God definitely exists, and I have all this evidence. Well, all of my evidence isn't quite evidence, my experience. Well, you just have to have faith, and then at the very end, my favorite position, you have as much faith as I do. You're a believer too. And that's how it develops. They step back until they lose.
Yeah. And then they always just go back to, well, I feel God in my heart.
Yeah. And then they flip the checkerboard over and they're done playing.
Right, exactly. So, what made you decide to start studying apologetics to begin with?
Well, to begin with, I was going to go to be a pastor and to study apologetics, but I chose to do pole vaulting. I used to be a pole vaulter, the thing with the stick.
That's cool.
I chose to do that, and right after my season, I had a lot of family issues, really big family issues. My dad went back to being an alcoholic, started drinking again to be correct. And I had some basically just really big family issues where I stopped talking to a family member for about 6 years after that. And when that whole thing was coming down on me, I just felt this is God telling me I need to go and do what He planned for me, which was going to go be a pastor. My original intention, going to go be a pastor, to be an apologist, and to get people to the faith. I felt it was a way of God calling me back. Yeah. And that's how I ended up starting my a real intense, in-depth look at apologetics and how to become a pastor and how to bring people to the faith.
And so, in doing that, like you said, you actually did the opposite.
Yeah, actually, the road ended in the opposite direction that I thought it was starting. And what happened was, excuse me, the reason I chose apologetics, I actually had kind of had a thought of it, but when all of that horrible stuff in my life happened, I felt, you know what, I need to settle this. I need to be able to prove to people, and so that when they are feeling down and out, they have the assurance and the confidence that I have.
Right.
Little did I know that confidence would break.
Yeah, the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of similar to me. That I had total belief, and I went to college to be a drug and alcohol counselor, and I never went there, with any doubts. I never doubted God in my life until I started learning college and actually, learning about how the body actually works, and then having to take religious classes, actually what made me into an atheist. I mean. So it's funny that when you go seek the knowledge, and actually that's what removes faith. So
yeah.
There's a
funny episode.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so if you were to talk to yourself now, who you were back then when you were just starting. What is some things, the questions you would have, or some things you would say? Because I know you're really good at apologetics and understanding, the mind of the believer. And I would like to hear, what would you have said to you when you were just starting? Now, before you knew anything, when you were just starting, so you had all this gung ho belief. What would you have said?
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing, and especially if younger John hadn't yet done any of the studying,
Right.
thing, look into the history of how Christianity was formed.
Okay.
First and foremost, that right there is one of the biggest that affected me. Also, look into how the Bible was put together. New Testament and Old.
Right.
Those areas. Because I started when I was young John, started with, just the apostle. They're all apparent contradictions, Damien. They're all apparent. None of them actually contradict each other. And if you look at this prophecy and you look at this prophecy, that was how I actually started. I started with, of course, just like all apologists, you start with your conclusion. But yeah, I started with.
Can you tell us what the conclusion is? I don't know what the conclusion is.
You started with the conclusion that the Christian God exists.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant. Starting with that conclusion, and then you start from there going, well, here's how I'm going to prove it to you with such and such prophecy, the virgin birth.
Oh, okay.
Prophecy. In Isaiah, and I wish I could quote it right off the top of my head, but that's one that I always confuse. In Isaiah, they talk of a young woman being born, someone being born of a virgin.
Right.
Well, when you actually study it, it's not a virgin, it's a young woman.
Right, yeah.
And in the context of that chapter, they're specifically talking about an individual there. It's not like we prophesy that this will happen. No, it's within a context. It's later retrofitted for making up a story about, Jesus.
Yeah. All right, so go ahead and explain a little bit again. Right at the end, kind of got messed up.
Explain one more time.
So you were saying about why the Christian God. You said apologetics.
And when you're doing apologetics, at least the way I did it, and let me make a disclaimer. I didn't actually study at APU for a full year. I was studying for a full year to go back into APU because I was going to be going there. And APU is Azusa Pacific University. It's a Christian college in Southern California.
Okay.
And I went to my pastor and I said, I'm going to be going to APU next year because I dropped out completely of Mount San Antonio College is where I was going.
Okay.
I dropped out completely. 100% and did nothing but studying and reading. I reread the Bible. I had already read it around that time, or before then, and I reread it one more time, and then got a bunch of it. I talked to my pastor, and he gave me all the stuff I needed to do to be able to get a head start. And it was during that year that everything fell apart. I was going back and forth to him too. Well, what about this? This says that. What about this? And I can give a specific example if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay. And this is the one that I bring up. It's not the straw that broke the camel's back, but it was definitely one of the ones where I realized contradictions aren't just, there was 100, no, there was 10, and not just a contradiction like that. I call them, Mark Ehrman, who's a biblical scholar, calls them thematic differences, or thematic contradictions.
Okay.
And we all know about Judas and how he hung himself. Correct? Everyone knows that he threw the money into the money changers and he went and hung himself because he felt so bad.
Well, people that know the Bible do, yes. Most people.
Yeah.
Not all.
After Jesus died, Judas went and threw money into the money changers and went and hung himself. Well, that account is in Matthew. Well, in the book of Acts, which is Luke, the author of Luke, his follow-up, I think it's verse 7. is, oh look, well he hung himself and he burst in the middle. Wait, no, that's a contradiction. Well, apologists, and I'll put on my apologist hat. There we go, apologist hat.
Right.
They'll say, well, that's not a contradiction because he went to hang himself, the rope broke, and he fell and burst in the middle. It's just told from two different perspectives.
Right.
Well, there's something a little bigger and more problematic with that.
Okay, can you tell us?
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead, what you were saying.
There's a bigger problem with just, oh, he hung himself and then he burst in the middle. That's a contradiction. And apologists will attack just that, and atheists will attack just that, or, will say, hey, look, this is a contradiction. The bigger problem is the thematic difference. Judas, in the first account, is sad, he's disheartened, he goes and hangs himself because he realizes he's done wrong.
Right.
In the second account, he's being boastful. He's full of himself.
Right. That's
And
different.
so that's just one of those things where there's more than just the on-the-surface contradiction than apologists let on.
Right, yeah, their intellectual skill is lying.
Yeah, oh yeah. And when I went to my pastor, I went to him and I said, well, what's this and this? And he said, that's something that that is something that you'll find out when you meet God.
Right. Yeah, because that's the way that they don't have to address real issues that are a problem.
Yeah. It's intellectually dishonest to just give the surface level answer without addressing the undercurrent of all the other contradictions.
Right, I totally agree. So, when you said that you would learn the history of the, you would tell your young self to learn the history of the Bible and how it went together, the Old Testament and New. Can you explain that for people that don't know why that would be important? Like, what exactly? You're talking to you. What exactly would you say? If you say learn that or go research it, what are a few points that you would make?
Well, first thing I would tell younger me is that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are not the authors of the Bible, of the Gospels. But more to the point, I would tell them to look. There were many, many manuscripts of Gospels, and I'm speaking specifically for the New Testament right now.
Right.
Many manuscripts of the Gospels they were just doing those. This person didn't feel like making those the set, And when you look at, okay, well, why was this written in this context? Well, Mark was written to a different audience than Matthew or Luke or John. Those Gospels were written for a specific audience, and they're not eyewitness accounts. History is not written like that.
Right. Yeah. See, one of the things that really touched me, what I learned in college, that actually helped me get to doubt, was kind of what you're saying about learning the things. And what I learned was that Mark was first, not Matthew.
Yeah.
And the fact that Paul had actually died before even Mark was written. Paul never asked for any account of Christ to be written, and doesn't seem to know some of the parts of the story that's later written. That was very profound to me.
Oh yeah, and actually one thing that actually hit me very, very hard was when I found out that general biblical scholarship understands that seven of the epistles of Paul were not written by Paul.
Yeah, the real history stuff.
Yeah, technically forgeries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's technical forgeries in here, and I'm going to say this is the Word of God,
Yeah.
and that this was put together. Again, the history. This was put together properly. No.
Yeah, the other one that got me about the Old Testament was the fact that Exodus was written first, and then later Genesis was written.
Yep. Yep. And especially with the Old Testament, Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy was found in a renovation of the temple. They found it and presented it to the literal book of the Torah.
Huh.
It's like, oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, it's to me it's pretty amazing when you start doing research how things don't match up. Like I know there's they talk about how Moses supposedly heard God's name for the first time, right? But what's funny because they use that name, Yahweh, in Genesis.
Yep.
So if Yahweh wasn't heard until Moses, how is it being heard in Genesis? It just shows.
It's all jumbled around, and that's why I say look at the history because and I don't know maybe history is not the correct word to use, but biblical criticism where you look at it and you go, well, this was written definitely before or after this, but why are they in this order in the Bible? Why were they compiled this way? Well, it's to tell a narrative.
Yep.
It's not to show the truth. It's to tell a narrative.
Right. It's not trying to be correct. It's trying to be, push a propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's. I totally agree that it's amazing. There's a lot of stuff you can look outside the Bible to prove it's wrong, but you can just use the Bible itself to prove itself is wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's where I particularly like to do that, take that approach. And I know a lot of people they say, oh well, I don't want to get into a Bible discussion with them. But when you get into a Bible discussion with them, you're driving a wedge into a thing that they hold near and dear to their heart. So you just might get them to go and look at the Bible and study it.
Right.
And even if it's just for them to try and prove you wrong, they can come to an expectation that they come to a conclusion that they weren't expecting.
True.
Just like I did.
Or like I did.
Yeah.
I never sought out to be an atheist. I never even doubted.
Yeah.
But so I also know that you're very big into activism and the meetups and that. And could you tell us about the some of the things you've done and the meetup that you're basically kind of in charge of? And then I also want to hear, how did that start? How did you go from not being involved to then being involved?
Okay. I helped run and organize a meetup group called Riverside Atheists and Free Thinkers, or RAFT for short.
Okay.
And I do that with my girlfriend Jen and some other friends of ours. And it started with a good friend of ours, David, who wanted to make a meetup so we could post some really fun events that we do. My girlfriend, and I know you're going to have her as an interview. She is phenomenal at getting interesting, high-end speakers.
Right.
And we've had Seth Andrews, who's the host of the Thinking Atheist podcast. Most recently, we had Richard Carrier, historian and published author and philosopher. We've had Tracy Harris for a talk as well. A lot of fun. But the real reason why
And you had Dave Maccabee also, right? You had Dave Maccabee. I said, didn't you have Dave Maccabee?
Oh yes, yeah, we had David G. McAfee also.
Yeah.
Yeah, author of Long Adam and Atheist.
Right.
Oh, he was great too. But you know the reason why doing meetups and why we do this community, well, I said it right there. Why we do this is for community. It's for fellow non-believers to have a place to just be able to let loose, to be able to say whatever they want, and in some instances, to be able to ask questions.
Right.
I most recently was asked how I came out to my family and if I could give any advice on that. I wouldn't give them any advice other than don't make it a debate when you come out.
Right.
It's only about you talking to your family and telling them who you are and how you feel. Don't make it a debate. That's where I went wrong.
So what can you tell us what you did? That's interesting. So when you came out to your parents, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, the way I went wrong was, the way I feel I went right was that I had individual discussions with certain sets or certain family members.
Okay.
Like I did my mom and dad separately. Because I knew there would be two conversations completely. And what I did with my mom is I told her I was an atheist, and the first thing she said is, well, where do you get your morals from?
Like, what'd you say?
I said, well, I shouldn't have said. What I said is, I get them from the same place you do, society and through reason. I don't get them from a piece of crap book like the Bible. That's what I said. Don't do that.
What should you say?
You should say, I get them from the same place you do, or we can have a discussion on that later.
Okay.
Save all of those discussions for later. For right now, just focus on why you're an atheist and why you wanted to let them know. That is something that I felt I did right. I specifically told my mom, my dad, and my grandma that the reason I'm letting them know and not just keeping it to myself is because I love them and I want them to know who I am. I want them to know me. I don't want to be someone else when I'm around them.
Right. So how did they take it?
Go ahead.
I said, how did they take it?
Out of the three of them, my mom was the worst.
Okay.
She said, I feel like I failed you. I failed you as a parent. You shouldn't be thinking these things. And had your dad and I not separated, this wouldn't have happened. And yeah, so she took it pretty hard. And I could have used a little better tact with her. My dad took it. He took it better than I thought he would. But him and I, and this is obviously because he's my dad, him and I immediately got into a battle of wits, an argument.
Okay.
I mean, he tossed, and I know we'll go over these, he tossed the cosmological, he tossed the moral, he tossed every single argument he could toss at me that night, that hour that we were talking. And
too bad it wasn't videotaped. I said, too bad it wasn't videotaped.
Oh, I know, it would have been great. Too hard to hit like my dad and I. But out of the three people that I told, my grandma, I think she was 75 at the time, my 75-year-old grandma was the best.
Oh, yeah?
She just looked at me and said, okay, well, I still think you're going through, but look.
Well, that's cool. So,
yeah. My grandma, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, your grandma.
My grandma has surprised me many, many times like that. people always think their grandparents are a little more conservative and this and that. My grandma is liberal as hell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. So, can you go back to explain how did you go from not being involved to doing the atheism events? You said you were talking to Dave. Didn't you say before to me one time that you met Jen, your girlfriend, at a meetup that you went to? Could you tell us about that?
Actually, yeah. The whole reason I started looking for atheist groups to interact with is because I really wanted to start doing formal debates.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, like, go to an atheist group, maybe they have a debate team, maybe they do debates, and if not, I can help them start one. So, funny story, I was getting ready to take a shower after work, and I'm going, man, I'm so bored today. Let's just look and see what's on Meetup and what I can do. And I looked, I found a dinner that was a couple miles away from where I was. I turned the shower off. Okay, I was dirty.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. I turned the shower off. I headed straight there, and that's where I met my now current girlfriend, and we've been together for about 2.5 years.
Right on.
And it was actually her dinner. She made a dinner at BJ's, and she does these twice a month, every month, pretty much.
Cool.
And that was my first interaction at a meetup.
How did that go? Was it your first one?
Oh, I didn't go to bed till about 1 o'clock. I was just so excited. I got home, and especially with Jen, and I know she's my girlfriend now, but her and everybody else were very open, very nice, great discussions.
Yeah.
Very good discussions.
Do you remember any of the discussions in particular?
Actually, yeah. Somewhat similar to what we're doing. Because I've studied apologetics and talked about those things. Someone asked me, oh, well, how did this happen? And I explained to them. And a lot of it was going through all of the arguments that helped turn me into an atheist, and then turn me into an atheist who's willing to debate Christians formally.
Right.
Or any believer.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So do you think that apologetics works best on Christians, or understanding apologetics can work good on in any theistic belief?
Well,
Go ahead. You kind of cut out for a second.
that studying apologetics has helped me in two
Yeah. Are you still there? Yeah. Hello. I can hear you.
Okay, there we go. Cool.
Go ahead.
I would say that studying the arguments for and against belief in God and all that, they were twofold for me. Before I went and came out to my family, I studied all of the counter arguments to apologetics one more time because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get caught off guard. And so, for the average atheist out there, non-believer, however they want to describe themselves, for them, I say that it's a good idea to at least study the counters to a lot of the apologetics, because you don't want to get caught off guard and feel stupid. And feel like, oh, well, this religious person's beating me. And this religious person is hounding me. Life's big questions. It's just an uncomfortable feeling. Second reason why studying counter arguments and just studying the debate in general is helpful is because when someone questions you, you have
Yeah. I don't ever say apologetics don't help anybody. I think that's a stupid statement. For me personally, do you hear me? Do you hear me now? Yeah, I don't personally focus on apologetics, but that's just because I have a different style. I absolutely think apologetics, and counter apologetics, I mean, are definitely valid, and I am slowly learning a little more of that. It's just not a it's not a.
I don't know how I got into this.
Oh, we'll go back to John. You can be in there.
No, I'm getting out. Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, that's Jennifer. Yeah, so I don't focus on it as my style personally, but I do think it's definitely valid. So I think it's stupid. To me, anyways, I always tell people I don't think there's really a wrong atheism. I think theism is wrong, but I don't think there's such a thing as wrong atheism, because I think that even if the limit that you did was just question, a theistic belief, I think you're already doing something good. I mean,
Oh yeah. Just the process of questioning and doubting is a good mental exercise for you, and religions squash that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't question it.
Yeah. Good.
Let me rephrase. They'll say, "Oh no, we love questions. You can question it." No, they mean question as to why this is right.
Yeah. What they really mean is not question, but inquiry into why they have the right answers.
Thank you. You are much more eloquent than I am with words.
Oh, not always. It depends on what the subject is on. So in fact, one of the things I have to do sometimes, my wife, now I'm second editing my book, The Tree of Lies and Its Hidden Roots. It's about the evolution of religion and removing the rationale of faith, and sometimes she has to go through and remove the ghetto, because I'll use a bunch of really, sophisticated words, and I'll talk real ghetto. She goes, "You can't talk like that." makes you sound stupid. So, but but I think in general, I think that, and what you do too, I really like is, and what I try to do is be authentic. I mean, we are who we are, and that's, I think, someone who's an atheist should be who they are. If you feel drawn towards apologetics, then you should, or counter apologetics, you should do that. And if you're not, do what feels right for you, because I think that, all of us are needed, and all the different styles. Anything that rejects theism to me is already doing something good. So I wanted you to since you are, we've mentioned, you are good at apologetics. Can you tell us some of your counter apologetics favorite things to address, or some of the biggest ones that are challenged, put against you?
Absolutely. And what's one thing with studying apologetics and just the argument in general is, if you don't feel like it, don't do it.
Right.
If your position is you just wanna have a discussion with them, and a discussion with believers, and get to the root of the problem, which is faith,
right,
and lack of critical thinking, then don't even bother with the rest.
Right.
Because, and that touches on a greater point, maybe we'll tangent a bit, that's skepticism. Skepticism and critical thinking is more important than any of those arguments at all.
Right. I agree. Could you explain what critical thinking is?
There's actually, I will make a suggestion. Like you said, maybe we can put in the comment section or the description. Qualia Soup, he's a YouTuber, and he has a video on critical thinking, and it is absolutely one of the best videos I've ever seen, and explains it thoroughly. And critical thinking is, and this is something directly from there, critical thinking is not just thinking a lot about something. The
Right.
Critical thinking is challenging assumptions, getting to having valid reasons for your process and for what you're claiming to know.
Right. Yeah, I would just say the critical thinking for me, a simple way to put it is, don't automatically believe everything. Okay. One of the things I always say is that in general is to not believe everything you think. Don't start with the thing that whatever comes in your head is valid. I mean, if I come in my head to go hit somebody, I don't just go do it. Well, just because you like a belief, you like Christianity, doesn't mean you should believe it. The fact that you like it doesn't make it worth believing in. You need to have reason and evidence.
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people think that it's just okay to believe things. Oh, I believe it because I believe it. Well, why?
Yeah.
That's one of the most important questions is why.
Yeah. So, as far as apologetics, what is one of your favorite counter-apologetics?
Okay. One of my favorite counter-apologetics. That's tough.
Or several. Give us several. Whatever.
Oh yeah. My absolute favorite is the problem of evil.
Mine too. Go ahead.
Yeah, the problem of evil, and that is basically if God is all powerful and all knowing, why doesn't God stop a lot of the evil and suffering that happens in the world? And I really should say suffering because that's the heart of the evil that we're talking about.
Right.
That is absolutely one of the most destructive arguments for theism of any type. And there's actually two types of it. There's the evidential problem of evil and the logical problem of evil. The logical problem of evil is essentially there should be no evil and bad things with an all-good, all-loving God. So any existence of evil is too much. That one, you can get around that one by saying, well, a God will put some suffering in to substantiate certain virtues, like compassion. I can't be compassionate if there's not something to be compassionate about. So if you're hurting, you need to be hurting for me to be compassionate and to show empathy and to help you out. So some suffering's okay. Well, not gratuitous suffering for no reason. That's a problem. And that's really where the evidential problem of evil, I think it's the stronger one. That's where it takes off and really hits hard, is gratuitous suffering. The child that gets tortured and beaten and raped and then murdered, that's not for any greater good. What good is that for?
Right.
There can't possibly be a greater good for that. And the evidential problem, things like hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, needlessly, and it well, free will is the reason why. Well, no, if I was a god, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, hold on a minute. If I was a god, if I was all powerful, I can certainly create a world where everyone has free will, there's no natural disasters, and the biggest amount of suffering is to stub your toe.
Right.
That right there is already a better world than the one we live in.
Yeah, for me, I like the problem of evil too through an axiology perspective. Axiology is that I judge things for their intrinsic value, their extrinsic, and their systemic value. And I would say in general, like you said, you could actually have pain without having psychological pain, because physical pain is momentary usually. But psychological pain, like you said, raping a child is bad. Raping a child is bad, not just for the say it happens for 10 minutes or an hour, but the rest of their entire life, they're psychologically tormented because of this hour. That doesn't need to be there. A loving God wouldn't have made psychological pain, even if he felt pain was necessary to survive. Psychological pain is not necessary to survive, and it's life-destroying. What loving God would do that? No, it's a life sentence for a momentary event.
And that gets me on a funny thing. I know what kind of a God would do that.
Yeah.
A truly evil God.
A truly evil God, exactly what I would say. And so I find that to be totally amazing. But also the problem, like you said, they have is, how about the fact of making Down syndrome? How about the fact of making people a psychopath? What benefit would that have? Where they actually, probably can't choose, or other, psychological disorders where the person is not born, without the inability, to have a normal life. I mean, what does that do? But like you said, an evil God, if there was one.
It's like, how does that benefit society? How does that benefit humanity? How does that benefit existence to have psychopaths?
Yeah.
To have child cancer?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, crap. I can make a better world by just going, okay, we're not going to have child cancer.
Right, exactly. Well, and the point is, there's not just even one cancer. What God would make 100 cancers? Yeah, birth defects. Not just one birth defect, but thousands of birth defects. Why would you be that? What's so funny to me is, you care so much about what we think, and yet if there was a God, what you've done physically to us is worse than what we could think.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine a world better.
Easily.
I'm sorry?
I said I know easily. In fact, we have a company that produces a toy that hurts kids. Everyone feels it's a moral obligation to hold them responsible. But yet, if a God creates a world where it hurts kids, somehow he's still the best God?
Yeah. Oh, and actually, that's a good jumping point right there. One of the counters to the counter apologetic is from the believer's perspective. They'll say, "Oh well, God has a plan, and God's ways are so far above ours that we can't question Him. Maybe there's a really good thing that'll happen in the future date." Well, the problem with that little response is that it undercuts everything they know about their God.
Right.
If you say that your God's ways are so far above ours, and we have no business saying that child cancer isn't going to do some good later on, well then what business do you really have of making proclamations that your God is good, or that you know your God? Your God is so far above ours, maybe all the good stuff in life is for a really big evil thing in the future, because God's actually evil.
Right.
His ways are so far above ours, Damien.
Yeah, it's so above ours that they know. What's so funny to me is they talk with such surety when it's on what they want to, but when you address something, then like you said, then it's ambiguous. Oh well, we don't know. You seem to know a lot until you're challenged. Then when you're challenged, then all of a sudden you don't know. But that's an okay thing. What's so funny is they're good at pushing "I don't know," but then when we say "I don't know," they say that's bad.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's nothing wrong with saying "I don't know," except for the times of when you need to hide something.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Where's that body, Damien? I don't know.
Yeah. So what's another one that you like, or you find that comes up a lot?
Well, I'm on a really big presuppositional apologetics kick.
Could you explain what that is for people that don't know?
Oh, yeah. Presuppositional apologetics is essentially, it's a style, it's not even really one argument. To me, it's a style of argumentation to get the non-believer to doubt their own knowledge claims and to doubt themselves and to go, well, maybe God does exist. And then, well, maybe it is the Christian God. Oh my gosh. It's actually more of a tactic than an argument, I think. Because, and it's a really crappy tactic. Essentially what it is I'll be the presuppositionalist. How do you know what you claim to know? You have presuppositions that God doesn't exist. You presuppose these things, and those presuppositions that you have, Damien, can't be justified. How do you justify your knowledge? How do you justify this? And these are actually legitimate questions in philosophy, especially the philosophy of epistemology, which is wanting to account for how we know what we do know. Excuse me. And presuppositionalism is essentially a game of pointing the finger while dodging fingers at you.
Okay.
They want to point out that you can't ground your knowledge, and the only way you can ground your knowledge is through God.
Right, but to me that's not reasonable. I know I'm a very strong atheist in how I say there is no God. Just like I don't have to go and science actually has not put a probe on the sun, but it knows a lot of things about the sun. And in fact, it knows some suns are filled with metal, and it doesn't actually have to core into it to do that. So there's a lot of ways that you can come to. I'm just saying that they don't acknowledge the fact that you can reject something by looking at all the other things that would be around it to support that conclusion.
Yeah, and the way a presuppositional apologist, I'm just going to say presup from now on, just so I can shorten that. A presup, what they would say is, well, how do you know that? You can't possibly know that for sure because inferential knowledge is tentative and subject to doubt. And inferential knowledge isn't grounded in the way God is grounded.
Yeah, but I don't even know what's God.
Exactly. Well, the whole argument is essentially bringing up problems that we have with grounding our knowledge, which is a legitimate philosophical concern.
Right.
Bringing up hard solipsism, and solipsism is the idea, or belief, whatever, that you could just be a brain in a vat. You could be in the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Can you be wrong about everything? Well, Damien, you're not sitting there. You could be a brain in a vat getting signals sent to your brain, and so all this is not real. None of it's true.
So you're saying that there's actually Christians that try to use that argument?
What they do is they use that. They say you can't, Damien. You can't prove that you're not.
Well, but I would say that I can prove that I'm not, because first off, to assume that you just presuppose that there actually is such thing as a brain in a vat. Why do I have to prove something that you have never proved is a reality? I don't think if you say to me, I would say is if you say there's an alternate reality, you first have to disprove that this reality is not valid. Because how science works is, it starts with the nil hypothesis that the reality, or as you can see, is real, and anything you try to add to it, brain in the vat, or any conclusion, you don't have to disprove it. You first have to prove that this reality is false before you can add that some other hypothesis, brain in the vat, is true.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's exactly right. The problem with the whole presup endeavor is that they're playing games.
Oh, definitely.
It's just playing a game. To me, presuppositionalism is the most dishonest form of apologetics. At least with all of the other forms, with saying the cosmological argument, they try to get and find a common ground where we can agree and say, well, look, I think this evidence points to God. Not, you can't ground your knowledge, so you should just trust that God exists and can ground your knowledge, which is essentially the presupposition.
But so I have a question though. I don't know that much about. Like I said, I'm not very into the apologetics. But so I have a question though. I don't see how. For me, I'm not getting how even if they could make me doubt myself. They say that all I could then go to maybe was skepticism or agnosticism, or with an A or with an I. I don't get how I would go from doubt to belief. I doesn't. If they could make me doubt, I don't get how that then has to prove belief. Maybe I'm not getting their argument.
Well, and I haven't fully gotten the full argument, I guess. What it is they want you to basically admit that you could be wrong about everything, and that everyone has presuppositions. Or sorry, they don't want to say that. They want to say that you have presuppositions, that you presuppose things that you can't justify, and that's why you need God. God is the only grounding for knowledge, the only grounding for inferential knowledge and science and things like that.
But isn't that itself a presupposition? I mean, I'm not. How is that not exactly what they're saying?
That is it right there. Remember when I said that presup is basically pointing fingers dodging fingers also?
Right.
That's exactly what it is. One thing to point out is they presuppose God. Everyone has presuppositions.
Right.
Now, that's funny. You caught it right on the nose, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a game.
Yeah, it sounds like a game. But I think it's important because I think that I've debated Eric Coven and Ray Comfort, and to me, I definitely got it's a game. It's not even because even when I try to address real issues, I see them just try to sidestep it and keep with their spiel. I find it to be in that sense very dishonest that they're not. They just want to try to focus their thing, like you said earlier about making you feel bad or something. Which if they can't do that, then they stop playing.
Yeah, essentially. Excuse me. It's funny you said that. That Eric Hovind. I actually debated with Eric Hovind when we were doing you and me were doing the protest out front of the Discovery Institute's Creation Day or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, he came out with his little video camera, wanted to record me, tripped me up in a bunch of word games that ultimately mean nothing.
Yes.
And and I'm going to toss this out there so fellow atheists who don't know the style or have never heard this, if you ever encounter a presuppositionalist and they say, could you be wrong about everything you know? A lot of people will think, oh, well, I should be intellectually honest and say, yes, I could be.
Right.
No. The answer is no. You can't be wrong about everything you know. And there's a couple reasons. One, if we're having a conversation, my knowledge of the English language is obviously working and is correct. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having a conversation.
Right.
There's one. Two, the other thing that you can know, the other reason why everything you know can't possibly be wrong is because some people, most everybody, has some belief in their head that contradicts another belief. Somewhere in there, we all have it. At one time or another, we all have it. And so if you hold on to both beliefs simultaneously, you can't be wrong about both because one of them has to be right.
Right.
And then third, there we go. Third, wrong about everything you know. No, I cannot, because one thing I know for sure is that I'm not omniscient. I don't know everything.
Right.
So if I'm wrong about that, then I know everything. So I have to be right about that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, it just shows that their argument doesn't really, stem from logic.
No, and that's why I said it's not so much of an argument as it is a tactic.
Yeah, tactic. No, I felt like that. He also got in, I don't know what he did to you, but he tried to get in my face, like, super close. I mean, almost, where he's like maybe 6 inches from me, with the video camera. I told him, step back, give me some space.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, he's just like a bully, man. He just tries to, intimidate and bully. Like you said, it's just a tactic. They're not really trying to find truth or stuff. I think that's what people always think, that somehow atheists are disingenuous. That's totally the opposite. I mean, we're usually a lot more laid back and willing to talk to people and hear their side of it, whatever. They're like the opposite,
Oh, yeah. And the whole endeavor is dishonest, I feel.
Yeah.
I don't feel that everybody within the endeavor of apologetics is dishonest. Eric Hovind, Titan Bruggencade, they are dishonest scumbags. Others, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I felt that how he was acting was definitely questionable. So I don't really know so much about the identities. Like, someone asked me more about Ray Comfort. I think Ray Comfort, is delusional, and then also I think he's a liar to some amount. Obviously, I mean, I don't know if he, like someone said, they don't think he believes any of his stuff. No, I think he does believe some of his nonsense, and I also think he's lying.
Yeah, I mean, we've met him personally.
Yeah.
You and I both talked to him personally, and I agree completely with what you just said.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Excuse me. What?
No, I said thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, I do miss being in Southern California and going out there and hitting the streets with you. I like going out there and doing stuff. And not just because to go against them. That's not my biggest goal. It's just to go out there and in general and show that atheism can be in public. I mean, they act like we have to hide somewhere or we have no right to even be out. It's like somehow atheism is a bad word, or somehow being an atheist and telling people we should be ashamed of ourselves or shouldn't push anything. They put crosses on and signs and humongous billboards and somehow we have to be quiet.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the main reason why we're quiet. If we're ever out doing outreach, I'm not out there to have debates. I'm out there to let fellow non-believers know that there's atheists out here. That, hey, we can be together.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I agree that a lot of people they're disbelievers, don't even know that there's places to go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we go out there, when we do outreach, and this is touching more on what we were talking about earlier, about why I joined the meetup and why joining the atheist group can be very beneficial, is because you can get out there and other non-believers, other atheists, can feel comforted by the fact that they're not alone. We have a community. I mean, I met my girlfriend. I met some of my best friends through the atheist community.
Yeah. So speaking of the atheist community, I've heard other people address that they think that we're just preaching to the choir, or they don't want to just hear a bunch of people, talking back to each other about the same stupid things, and they don't want to be a part because they feel like it's somehow all of us just stroking our egos. Could you address that?
Well, and what I would address to those people that have that position is, we are not preaching to the choir, because one thing that those people forget is that people are new to atheism. people don't know or haven't heard all the arguments. They haven't heard or found out about the community, the discussions. And so it's not preaching to the choir, it's letting people know that we're out here. And also giving people comfort in the times that they want to have those discussions and need help on them.
So has anyone come to you and asked for help?
Actually, yes. At the last dinner we had dinner with Richard Carrier, and one gentleman, John, he's the one who asked me about, because he has not come out to his family yet.
Oh.
And he asked me about the ways to coming out, and I talked with him and gave him some ideas, and I feel like I helped him out a little bit. And when I've had other people come up and ask us, not necessarily me, but asked us for help with research. You know, they don't know all of the apologetics. They don't even know that there's a skeptical movement.
Right.
And science-based critical thinking and skepticism.
Could you address a little more on skepticism, so people that maybe don't know how you view that, and how does that relate to atheism?
Well, I feel that skepticism relates to atheism in the fact that, it's a process. When you're becoming an atheist or looking at the claims of God, of a God existing, you're going through a process. You're taking all the claims. You're citing. You're looking at the evidence, and you're coming to your conclusion based upon the best evidence. Skepticism well, first off, doing that in atheism is skepticism. Skepticism is not believing every claim right off the bat, but not rejecting it either. Skepticism is taking, like you said, the null hypothesis and saying, okay, well, I'm going to look at all the evidence for and all the evidence against, and then I'll make my decision. And then I have enough information to be able to say whether or not homeopathy works.
It doesn't. Yeah. What the? Well, yeah. Their cure for thirst is water, and water works. So I guess in that sense.
It works great.
Yeah.
But and conspiracy theories and things like that, and that's something actually I do want to touch on. I love the atheist community, but one thing I feel that the atheist community needs more of is skepticism and critical thinking. Because I've met fellow atheists that, while on the topic of religion, they're as logical, evidence-based, and as smart as they can be on that subject. But when it comes to, say, genetically modified organisms, GMOs, or 9/11 truthers, it all falls by the wayside. Well, critical thinking, I don't need that. I'm not critically examining these arguments because they fit what I already believe.
Right, yeah, well, I agree that skepticism is important. I generally consider myself to be a rationalist that uses skepticism, because I think that there's some arguments I don't have to be skeptical about. In other words, if you say you have the planet Pluto in your pocket, I don't have to reserve doubt until I look in your pocket. I know that it's rationally not acceptable to even entertain that, because of the limits of reality. So I usually tell people I'm a rationalist that utilizes, just like you said, I think we're using it all, skepticism often, but I'm rational first. If something doesn't sound reasonable, I reject it. I then am skeptical and then investigate it in that sense. But like the GMO things, to me, people say, well, I am a skeptic, that's why I doubt that it's good for us. Well, I say, well, rationally, we can look at all the science and the fact that animals have been receiving GMOs for a long time. Maybe maybe you feel it's new for humans, but I'm sorry, your animals that you eat all the time, the cows and whatever, they've been tons of genetically modified food. And if it was going to cause cancers and all these problems, ranchers would not do it. I mean, when they realized that mad cow disease was happened from feeding them cows, they stopped. So if GMOs were this harmful rationally, they would have already stopped it. We wouldn't have to be worrying about it for the humans because it would already been known. It's not rational to me. It just the fear of GMOs, that the supposed skepticism, for that is just not founded.
Yeah, you're right. And then maybe I shouldn't have said skeptic or skepticism, but I kind of refer to skepticism as the movement of skepticism, kind of like James Randi.
No, I know what you're saying. I'm just clarifying. I would say most of them are usually rationalists. James Randi doesn't say magic could be true until you show me it's not. I think he's presuppositionalist, like you had said that I can be in a sense. I presupposition that nature, reality. I start there first, and then you have to show me somehow reality is not true.
You show me that this reality is not true, and I'll think about presupposing you're God.
Right, exactly. So, or skeptical arguments. Like I said, I think that some parts of skepticism would be just. I agree, it's a skeptic movement, but some part of it are truly rationalism and not being skeptical, because they're not skeptical of certain things. They use it more as a scientific skepticism, which actually means inquiry. So I think that there's an issue too if people understand what the word skepticism means. It's not philosophical skepticism, which can even doubt reality. That's not what the skepticism movement's about.
Yeah, and that's the worst, philosophical skepticism, and that's really what, to me, when people just want to be contrarian or want to go against stuff just because the government's bad, because it has to be, that's that kind of skepticism. Well, I'm skeptical of that. I'm skeptical of science. Well, you're not skeptical of science when you're playing on your phone, are you?
Yeah, really.
You know?
Well, and I was going to say, I think that you addressed an issue. The problem that people have is that they have the people are pattern seeking. So even if one thing is true, let's just say that government was bad, but that doesn't mean government's out to get you. It's like they don't get, even if some foods are bad, that doesn't mean they all are. Even if some parts of reality are mysterious, that doesn't prove God. It's this pattern seeking of trying to fill in the gaps with some kind of nonsense because you like it. It's
and that goes to the greater, to a bigger point, I think, which is people are uncomfortable with I don't know.
Yes, they are.
So they have to, like you said, fill in the gaps.
Yep.
Well, if it's A, B, C, D, well then the next one's gotta be F.
Right.
Well, no, not necessarily.
Can you explain why? Like I know we talked before about how that would relate to if there's life in the universe.
Oh yes. Oh, and here's a very good counter apologetic for any atheists out there who get into just casual conversations. The next time you're talking to a theist, ask them, do you think that there's life on other planets? Whether they say yes or no, it kind of doesn't matter. They shouldn't say yes, because we don't know. So it shouldn't be yes. But if they do say yes, then you say, well, do we really have evidence for that? And let's just assume that there are. Let's just say that there are life, that there is life on other planets. Doesn't that undercut your whole religious belief? Because if there's life on other planets, then Jesus didn't go and save their souls. They don't have the Quran. They don't have Buddha's teachings. To me, there should be no religious believer that thinks that there could be life on other planets.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's interesting how some people think that for sure there has to be. I've talked to an atheist before that said he thought that there has to be because there's just so many planets. But I told him that actually doesn't mean that there has to be anything. I think that once again it's that we can say we don't know, which I don't really know, but to say that we know for sure, I think is false, because like we could be the first life or the last life. I mean, it doesn't mean that. The problem is trying to, like I said, fill in the gaps, like you said, about the not knowing, and then feeling uncomfortable, and so, well, it has to be so. I mean, you need to be okay. People need to learn it. I think that's definitely something the skepticism movement does talk about that I like, is that being, like you said, comfortable to say, I don't know. That is a totally valid position when you really don't know something, just to say, I don't know, and to feel good with that.
And I feel that uncomfortability is kind of the basis for why people want to believe in an afterlife.
Yeah.
And why people want that their families are in heaven, because they don't know where their family is, their dead family. They don't know what's happened to them, and most likely they're gone.
Yeah.
And so your choice is they're gone, I don't know, or I hope.
Yeah.
And that's, or I have faith, because hope and faith aren't the same thing. But yeah, I mean, to me, here's a good example. My roommate, we've had very good discussions. He's a believer, Catholic.
Oh, really?
And
I said, oh, really? That must be interesting.
It's fun.
How long have you been living with him?
Huh?
How long have you been living with him? How long have you been living with him?
At least a year and a half.
Did he know you were an atheist?
Oh yeah. In fact, my roommate, he wrestled with me in high school.
Oh.
Yeah, I know him from high school. And one of the first things he said to me was, "Weren't you going to be a pastor?" But we've had conversations, and one thing he's disclosed to me, and it makes me actually feel really good, is he said, a lot of the stuff you say, John, makes a lot of sense. He goes, your arguments, your reasons for doubting, your reason to work. He goes, I'm kind of convinced by a lot of them. He goes, but I really want to see my grandpa in heaven. He goes, I believe because it gives me comfort to know that to know. By the way, to know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, to know that my grandpa's up there in heaven. And I thought in my head, I said, you know what? I'm going to leave that. One, he's my roommate, and I got to live with him.
Right.
But two, I just didn't think to me, he already said, you're kind of convincing me, but I'm going to believe anyways.
Yeah.
So I just said, well, I'm going to leave that. That's his decision. What else can I do?
It's so funny for me as an axiologist. It's really hard, axiological atheist. It's hard for me because whenever I hear someone rejoicing for heaven, you thus are also rejoicing for all the innocent people that are suffering in hell. You can't have one without the other. So every time you say it's wonderful that someone is able to go to heaven, you're also accepting the fact that then, if there is such a place, that there also is hell that people are going to who do not deserve to go there. That no court in the land would convict someone of just not believing or all kinds of other things, like being gay or something.
Yeah, and what ends up happening, and you find this with the more, to me, the people who have higher amounts of empathy and are generally better people.
Right.
They will say, well, I don't really believe in a hell like this, and I don't believe like that. And the moment that someone mitigates hell and says, oh, there's no hell, everyone goes to heaven, I know they're a better person than the average
Well, true. I actually heard several people actually have told me that before. They don't believe in hell. And I just like so, but yet you still call yourself a Christian. I don't how do they? It's like, how is that not lying to yourself?
Yeah, and we kind of discussed this earlier, and I'll go back to it right now. They take steps back.
Yeah.
We're here. Well, God exists. I have evidence, and then it's, well, okay, I kind of see all that evidence. Well, God still exists because of this reason, and this moral, and this that. Well, okay, well, you can't prove that God doesn't exist. And then it goes to, well, I have faith, and you have faith too, and so it's just up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people, they tell me I have faith. I don't have faith. I don't use faith. I don't find faith to be a credible way to come to knowledge. So I don't really get into too much about worrying about if faith is hope or not. I just say faith is not a credible way to get to knowledge. So it's not a good way to validate a belief. So I don't use it at all. I use conjecture and inference. Conjecture being that I do not fully know something, and thus I try to use the best available reason and evidence. And then inference is I actually know something, and I can use the reason and evidence to validate a belief. And other than that, it's just an opinion.
Yeah, and faith is one of the most annoying words ever.
Yeah.
Because the average person, the average believer I run across, they want to equate faith with trust.
Yeah.
And they're not the same. You know, oh, you have faith in your girlfriend that she's not going to cheat on you. No, I don't. I have trust, and that trust has been built over time through experience and personal evidence. Well, you know what I mean, personal experience, which is evidence.
Well, right, but I'm saying that still is conjecture. What you're using actually is conjecture. You're using you don't have full understanding. You're using the stuff. So I agree that the trust is involved, but you're validating and proving the reliability of your trust by using conjecture.
Yeah.
So faith to me, I don't care how they want to use it. It doesn't really bother me. Any way you use it, it's still not worth anything. Because even if it's trust, it's not a valid trust. It doesn't validate the usefulness of trust. It is not evidence. Faith is not evidence. Faith is not reason. It is neither reason or evidence. So it's not a valid source. So I don't care. They can call it hope, trust. To me, they can call it anything they want. It's not valid. It's never been valid. You would not trust. You would not go to a hospital and go to the doctor and say, "Do you have a degree?" He goes, "Well, I have faith that that I'll be able to figure it out." You would not go to that doctor, and you'd be like, "I'm done with you." So, do you know how to do a heart surgery, doctor? Well, I have faith. You would be gone. You would think, hell no. You can't. So, yeah. Just like it's funny how they use it. They somehow more valid than any evidence there is. It's ridiculous. If they took their kids to a place and said, "Are you going to take care of my kid?" and they said, "Well, I have faith that I'll have time to take care of your kid," you would take your kids out of there. You would not leave your kids with a babysitter that says, "I have faith that I'll get to them." You would not have. They use it like somehow it's called Fideism or something. I can't remember how to pronounce it. It's a philosophy that faith actually is higher than reason or evidence. It's a certain philosophy style. Yeah, it's a certain philosophy style that they're using. It was real common. I think it's like 1600s or something. It was an actual thing. Now it's actually something people use. They don't know what it is. But I think it's called Fideism or something like that. It has to do it with Latin. It means Faith-ism is what it means. It's an actual, it's actually what they're using. Because once you read what Fideism stands for, that is exactly what they're using. That faith is a higher form of knowledge that actually is higher than reason or evidence, which is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard of, which is why philosophy doesn't use it anymore, because it's not valid. But yet believers still use it as if it's valid, although they don't use the actual philosophy term.
Yeah. And they only fall back on that after all of the arguments, like the cosmological argument.
Could you explain that? Could you explain the cosmological argument?
Yeah, absolutely. The cosmological argument, essentially, they're all kind of first cause. Everything has to have a first cause, and so what created this? What created that? And then eventually, what created the universe? And they want to say the apologetic is to say that God created the universe. Well, the standard reply to that was always, well, what created your God? And that's essentially still applicable to most cosmological arguments, because a lot of them are just trying to say, well, you have the Leibnizian cosmological argument, which is essentially everything has a sufficient reason or explanation for its existence. And somehow, I consider it special pleading, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
Somehow, God is exempt from this at all. God is the necessary being, the necessary grounding for everything. And to me, one big objection is, well, I will go ahead and agree, just for fun. I'll agree that there has to be a first cause. What means it has to be a God? Why can't it be a natural process? Why can't it be a scientist in another universe that's uncaused who created our universe?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a God. And but now we have the Kalam cosmological argument, which basically is the same thing, except for they give God a get out of jail free card by introducing the notion of begins to exist.
What's that? What do you mean by that?
Well, the Kalam cosmological argument, essentially what it does, excuse me, what it's trying to do is to take the Big Bang singularity and tie all of reality to the beginning of time, and say, well, all of the universe began to exist at the Big Bang, so it has a cause. Well, God, by definition, never began to exist.
Yeah, but to me, how did they know that God didn't began to exist? I mean,
well, yeah, but first off, it's all an argument from ignorance, because they can't possibly know that God didn't begin to exist.
Well, also, that doesn't. If I remember right, I don't remember in Genesis it even saying I always existed. Did it ever say that? Does the Bible actually say that?
No. In fact, he is called the Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah, the beginning and the end, but that means there's a beginning, and that also could be talking particularly about what he's created, not him himself.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure if I don't think there's a claim in the Bible.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's a present day made up thing. I read the Bible twice. I don't really remember anything particularly saying God has always existed.
No, and I think it's definitely much more of a modern believer's perspective to say that, so they can get out of the infinite regress
Right.
to the first cause.
Right.
So they just claim God has always existed, but there's problems with that. There's many problems with that. So one argument that they will throw towards an atheist would be, well, what was the first event? First event, you go back to the beginning of the universe. They say, well, there has to be an end, because if it goes infinitely to the past, that's absurd. Well, the reply back that you can give is, well, what was
I think it's interesting that like all science can say is even if you accept everything about the Big Bang, is that stuff started that we understand at that point. That doesn't mean that. I mean, possibly a universe died and then created us, so then there was a universe before us. I mean, just like the alien thing of saying that we could be the first alien or the last alien. We could be the first universe in a series of universes. We could be the last universe in a series of universes. I mean...
Well, and not just that. I could even agree. I could agree with them and say, you're right. God is a necessary being for the existence of the universe. But that God had to kill itself to create the universe. So I am correct in saying that there is no God.
Right. Or you right? I've said that before about morality. I said, okay, so let's assume that there was such a thing as an all-perfect God. An all-perfect God would understand that he created an imperfection. And he would realize that his nature would allow suffering. And so to correct that, he eliminated himself from the equation, and thus there is no more God, because he was all good, and thus the one that deserved to die was him.
Yeah. Actually, there's an argument that there's a counter-apologetic that uses reality as evidence that there's no God. Do you want to hear it?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, here we go. It's called the problem of non-God objects. So, necessarily, God created the universe, correct? Sure, yes. So, before God created the universe, to say the universe would be to say God, because there was nothing but God.
Right.
Okay, so we're stepping into their worldview. So if God is the only being, there's nothing else that exists, just God. So we'll call it God world.
Okay.
God world is in a state of absolute perfection.
Okay.
So all of the universe is perfect. Everything is in the perfect state of being. If God created the universe, then God created substandard quantity of things, and by doing so, devalued the state of the universe.
Yeah.
So basically, it's exactly what you just said. A perfect God created imperfect things,
Right.
and thus, basically, that God would have to do things that are always perfect. Because it's a God. And I'm just summarizing the argument. But if anybody wants to know more about that argument, I wholeheartedly recommend Reasonable Doubts podcast.
Okay.
Justin Schieber he's a counter-apologist.
All right.
He is amazing. And it's not his argument, but he is a big proponent of it, and he uses that argument. It's very, very fun argument.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's interesting how many arguments you have to address. It just, no matter what, it's like, to me, it's like trying to nail Jello to a tree. It just, I don't know how many nails you use, and it doesn't make any freaking difference. It's still gonna rip right through.
That's funny. It is. It's like Jello.
Yeah. Because I think that, like you said, in general, though, that they want to believe. That's just the fact. That, I'm willing to be wrong, but they are not. They want to believe, and so they will do absolutely any mind trick involved to come to that. So I think that when some atheists say that the believers are stupid, I think that they're acting stupid, but they have to be smart. With the unlimited ability to come up with new bullshit arguments. It's mind-boggling.
I know. Someone like William Lane Craig. William Lane Craig is a Christian apologist. That gentleman, he is a very, very, very smart man. He is not stupid by any stretch the word.
Yep.
I just consider him to be wrong,
Yeah.
possibly dishonest, and pushing an agenda. He's pushing the agenda of Christianity, and he's gonna jump through as many mental hoops as possible to get you to believe and to make it fit within his worldview. And he's not dumb. The guy is damn smart.
Yeah, I've heard him talk a little bit. I find him to be smart, but I find him definitely to be intellectually, obviously dishonest.
Yes.
Whether he's intentionally lying or he's just delusional, the result still is that I've heard him talk, and he has to be intellectually dishonest. He says stuff that absolutely is ridiculous.
And actually, to me, there's evidence of this, kind of. Not even kind of. There is evidence of this. When he proposes the Kalam cosmological argument, that argument is based on the Big Bang singularity. Well, the Big Bang singularity is different from the Big Bang theorem. The Big Bang theory is everything that happened after the first Planck second and the expansion of the universe. The Big Bang singularity theory is trying to explain what happened before that Planck second,
Right.
by applying general relativity. What you do is you apply general relativity, and basically everything goes to a single solitary point, and with infinite density, infinite this, and infinite that. Well, the problem with that is modern cosmology, by actual scientists, they reject that. They reject that the singularity even happened because the critical assumption that general relativistic principles or rules still apply. Well, we know that they break down at the quantum level.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying, and also it doesn't fit with general relativity. Doesn't really fit inside of black holes, does it?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, and because it breaks down, relativity breaks
Right.
down at the quantum level.
Right.
It's a fundamental problem in science: quantum mechanics and general relativity. General relativity, you have to mix them. But to me, it's dishonest for someone like William Lane Craig to constantly be using the Big Bang singularity as evidence of the universe coming from nothing.
Right.
It's because we know that that's discredited.
Yeah, if I have a problem in general, because if you can claim that we don't know something, I don't know how that gives you grounds to then claim that you do know something.
Yeah, it's an argument from ignorance.
It's like, the moment that you can totally feel like you destroyed my argument, you just did the same to your own.
Exactly. Yeah. I will send you a link to a really good YouTube video called Demolishing the Kalam Cosmological Argument.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's one of the best. I actually have it saved on my phone.
Yeah, I just started watching some videos, and I actually make them my own, obviously, but I just started watching videos. Before that, the last 3 years, people don't realize I've done almost, total train myself. I went from having no information on philosophy, no information on religion, no information on history, no information on archaeology or anthropology, and I have basically spent the last 3 years almost like a college informing myself. I've read 10,000 articles and 50 books, and and some of the books I bought are $150. They're like college books. I mean,
I'll tell you right now, Damien, and it shows.
Yeah.
It shows because you have the knowledge, you have the background when you make an argument, or when we're just talking about generally anything.
Yeah.
You have the knowledge, you have the background in it. You can tell.
Well, thank you. But I'm just saying that's why people don't get. I say, have you watched this person or read this certain atheist book? No, I've been doing basically almost like my own college on because when I first got into to being an atheist, I I felt like, wow, why isn't there a book? Like, I asked people, what book would you tell me that I should go read? Just one book. What book would you tell me? And most people are like, well, you got to read this one. This one's kind of good. Is it the best? Well, it's okay. Maybe this one, but it doesn't have everything. Maybe this one. And I was like, well, I feel like that there's a real lack of substance in some of the books. Not that they're not good, but it's all presuppositionalist in the fact that they assume you're almost, a lot of them half know the Bible, or know history, or know philosophy, or knows, or they tell you on science, or they only focus on science mainly, or they only focus on philosophy. They're really what I didn't feel like an all-inclusive kind of book. I know that somewhat close to that is Dr. Boghossian's Manual for Creating Atheists. But I feel like I've read that, and I feel like that's more like a book about informing you to go out and try to get people to doubt. I want to make a book that I can give you, and it turns you into an atheist.
Yeah.
Not any help.
On that path.
Yeah, that you just read just this book, and you will not leave with faith. That is my goal. That you don't need anyone else's influence, just this book. And so that's what. Good.
There are no books like that right now.
Right.
I would say the closest book to that would be maybe John Loftus. His book is called Why I Am an Atheist. But it doesn't quite walk you through. It gives you all the arguments.
Right.
The cosmological breaks it down, reasons why it's not good. This breaks it down, but it's not a full well-rounded. It's good for countering Christianity and for countering some of those apologetics and just general God claims general. But to get the full well-rounded, this is where we get our morality from. This is where we do this. This is an explanation, an account for why we are who we are and why you should be an atheist.
Yeah.
There's no book like that.
Right, and another thing too is that my book starts at 100,000 years ago. That's when religion started, and I show the archaeological evidence that I don't expect you to believe me. I show you the proof, but I had to basically go learn archaeology.
Absolutely.
And so, because I really hate faith, so I don't want to produce a book that requires faith.
Yeah. Your bibliography is gonna be thick.
Dude, I've now done chapter 2, and chapter 2 now has 400. Just chapter 2, 453 references.
Oh my gosh, you gotta come.
It's like 70 pages long, and it's 453 references. But like I said, I don't want you to have faith. And also the other thing is, because I don't have a degree in these subjects, I want to have someone else almost talking for me. I mold it into my own stuff. But the whole point is that I want it to be credible, and I want you to be able to go look it up, or go, that I tell people, don't believe me. If you, I present this stuff so that you will go. I hope you do challenge. I hope you do look, because I think that we shouldn't have faith.
Oh no! And actually, it's funny you said that. That's one thing that I noticed. It's a little off-putting for some believers when I've talked to them on the street, or my roommates and other people. I'll say, don't believe what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Go look it up.
Yeah.
Go look up what everything I've said, and when you look it up, tell me if I was right. Tell me if I was correct. Tell me if I was misrepresenting. And then they just look at you like, wait a minute, you don't want me to just believe you because you said it? No.
Exactly.
In fact, there was a really funny conversation I had with he was 18. There's an 18-year-old roommate that I used to have. He moved out a while ago, and he was talking to me. He said, "Well, what about Mormonism?" And so I explained Mormonism. I explained that they get their own planet, that blacks couldn't be priests up until like the 70s. just over the whole thing, that he saw golden plates and, all this stuff happened. And he looked at me. He looked at me and said, "Why are you fucking with me, John?" He didn't believe me. He didn't believe what I was telling him was the truth. He thought I was joking and making up stuff. And I'm like, no, they actually believe these things. He said, "Well, I have a cousin. He's a Mormon, and I'll ask him."
Yeah.
Later, he came up to me and goes, "Everything you said was correct." He's like,
Yeah.
"I thought you were fucking with me. I thought you were trying to trick me."
Yeah. I agree. Well, sometimes you learn a different, that goes back to, I address Wicca in my book. I don't focus on Christianity. I mean, I do probably focus on it a little bit more than other religions, but I want to expose everything. I'm an anti-religionist. So I suppose even Wicca, a lot of people believe, well, this is an old form of paganism. No, it's not. It's actually not, and I explain how it was made, why it was made. Just like, I don't know if you ever heard of Eckankar. They show it on TV all the time, love God or whatever bullshit. They are very destructive. Actually, there's been a few people that have had to go on to psych wards after coming from their church. They're very destructive. They're actually an offshoot. The guy that made that was the guy that helped made Scientology, and he offshooted because he wanted to mix in more like Egyptian and paganism and stuff, and less sci-fi, fantasy shit. And but I'm just saying, I show, that once, like you said about the history, once you learn how it really happened and why it happened, and it's just made up bullshit. It's just it's fake. I mean,
and when you look at the history, the reason why I feel it's so effective is because you start understanding there's human reasons behind all of this.
Oh, definitely.
It's because a lot of people, in fact, Jen, she was talking to a gentleman when we were in outreach. He didn't know there was a time before the Bible. Yeah, he didn't know about Sumeria. He didn't know about Mesopotamia. He didn't know that and China, fucking China.
Yeah.
He didn't know that China was basically around before Jesus was alive.
Well, did you know that actually Japan actually has older stuff than China does? Japan has culture that goes back to 18,000 years ago.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it sounds bizarre. I don't know, but I mean the evidence is there. They had a culture that was there. That's like the Zhang culture or something like that. Yeah, it's the culture. The oldest culture I top of my head to thinking is about 8,000 years ago in China. But even Vietnam, which is so crazy about the oceans, though. Vietnam has stuff. I think it's 11,000 years ago. They have some evidence of culture. It's really amazing. But then again, think about it. Australia goes back to 75,000 years ago with people that went there. It's amazing. We forget how much we moved around. People moved around a lot. And the Neanderthals moved around. The Cro-Magnon moved around a lot. I mean, it's this staying sedentary that we have now is actually not the norm.
Oh yeah, and what's really funny is people will often underplay how smart and ingenious early humans were.
Oh, definitely.
And so when they see things like Stonehenge or the pyramids, gotta be aliens.
Yeah, I know, it's so stupid.
Or it's gotta be God.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the aliens one is really ridiculous. Yeah, because it couldn't possibly be that these old people were able to figure things out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ancient aliens is such horseshit. It's just more, more people trying to fill in the gaps with bullshit.
Oh yeah, it's funny because we've met in our group. We've met only one guy who was an ancient aliens believer. Wow, that was a weird conversation.
Oh, he still was?
Huh?
He still was a believer?
Oh, I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Oh, okay.
kind of got tired of people hammering him on that. Just like, dude, there's no evidence. It's not ancient aliens. It's more like, how can you be an atheist with and know logical fallacies, yet not see the slew of them that are in ancient aliens and ancient astronauts? That's just ridiculous. And that's why I'll go back to that point again. Why people in general need to be rational.
Yeah.
They need to be critical thinkers, and they need to have a healthy dose of skepticism in their life.
True.
But,
True. I totally agree. Because when they don't, it allows things. What I was saying about like it allows things in there that's not valid. I mean, it allows you to because I hate it when they say, well, we don't know, so it could be possible. No, actually, that's not how things should work. It shouldn't be that when you don't know, you should just stop it. I don't know. Not I don't know. Thus, some nonsense must be true.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of times, just what you just said, we don't know. Basically, gets turned into we don't know, so I'm going to insert this.
Yes.
A really good, and again, the Qualia Soup one, really good talk, really good video on being open-minded and what that means, because that gets tossed around too. Because you get, well, I don't know, therefore it's this, which is essentially saying, I don't know, therefore I know.
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
I don't know, therefore I know? Bullshit. And then the other one that gets tossed around is open-mindedness. Well, you've got to have an open mind, Damien, because ancient aliens could be there. No, that's not an open mind.
Yeah.
An open mind is allowing your position that you hold to be such that you can go ahead and entertain other ideas and say, well, you know what? I'm open to your counter evidence. I'm open to your evidence. Bring it here. Let me see it. Let me evaluate it. That's open-mindedness. Open-mindedness is not, I'm going to go ahead and believe your claim just because you said it with such confidence.
Yeah, and to me in general, why I think that people need to also learn, which I know they don't know, but I'm hoping to do, is to get people to get into axiology. If you start to weigh and evaluate, because it's about value theory, you evaluate how reasonable things are, a lot of people would be able to apply skepticism or rationality in a lot clearer way. In other words, if you tell me, John, well, there's no difference between Bigfoot, a ghost, or a unicorn, or a god, if you say all those are equally the same, with axiology, I can say that's actually not true. They're not the same. I can say a Bigfoot is more plausible because you're only requiring me a tangible thing in the natural reality that only does natural things, no magic, and you're saying it's a branch off the apes. Doesn't make it real, but it's if you say a unicorn, I could say it's more false. Even if you say it has no magical abilities, we can look back at evolution and the history of the horse. Has like 6 or 5 different stages that it evolved in. Not one stage has a horn. That would be like saying a cat is a unicorn. It's really not plausible, because we understand by starting back at natural nature, we can evaluate that claim is not valid. But it's still higher than the claim of a ghost, because a ghost is requiring that somehow the human mind can exist outside of the body. It's also requiring that there's a realm of supernatural that it can exist in. Neither of those things have been found to be true. Once again, though, a ghost, is still a little bit higher possibility than a god, because a ghost is saying a natural world thing somehow can exist beyond. A god says nothing natural exists in a non-natural place with a non-natural beginning. Everything about it is non-natural, thus not reality, thus completely ridiculous.
And it all came from nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
because that's the one thing that irks me too. Well, you believe that something came from nothing. I don't. You do. You think your God created everything from nothing.
Exactly.
Causation works in 2 ways: efficient and material. You gotta have something to work with. slab of rock to work with, and he is the other cause. It's just stupid.
Right, yeah, that's the thing Ray Comfort like to say, like, how does someone build a building? It's evidence of a designer. Yeah, well, that designer wasn't able to, like you said, build bricks out of thin air.
Yeah.
And he had to hire laborers.
And it's funny because you said like Bigfoot and
Unicorns.
ghosts and aliens, all that. Those are all the same. And the same thing with religions. I had a believer ask me, well, if you could pick a religion, which one would it be? And I'm like, well, how do we change that to which religion do I would like? I could not be a Mormon and then reject regular Christianity, because to me, regular Christianity is more plausible than Mormonism.
True. Not really, but yeah.
To me, both are false and incorrect.
Yes.
But I'll be a fucking Christian long before I believe I'm a Mormon.
Yeah, I would say I would be, if I had to choose a religion, it'd be humanism, since they already classified it's a religion. Or if I could...
Don't you hate that?
Oh, the next atheism is going to be classified as a religion.
No, in some areas, it is. In some legal areas.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. It's because religion is like this catch-all for, you have a lot of people that think similar on one topic. Well, your religion.
Yeah.
Your religion now. No. We only agree on one topic.
And
it's for God.
And some of us don't even exactly agree on that. There's strong atheism, weak atheism, agnostic atheism. There's like all kinds of different, types of atheism.
Yeah. In fact, my coworker brought to my attention the other day, and that's why I brought this up earlier. You can believe in a creator, but you can still be an atheist. And people go, well, how is that? A scientist. A scientist in another universe created this universe, so he's our creator, but you wouldn't classify him as a god.
Right. Or like you said earlier, you could believe that there was a deistic creator that then killed himself or died, and thus you could be an atheist now.
Yeah.
Or
and
like I've heard
correct in that.
Or the pink unicorn, killed the Yahweh or.
I like to use my favorite one is giant space cat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's to me it's funny how they don't see how they can somehow say that their one branch of a god is true, but every other god is false. It just how they don't ever put that towards their own god is amazing to me.
It's tough. It is, and I'll tell you right now, because I was a believer and I was studying. When I studied apologetics, one thing I also studied was how other religions were wrong. Except for this one thing I didn't do. Well, I did eventually.
Right. How your religion. I'm just saying, it's like, yeah. I know, because it's like they'll say Islam is wrong, like you said, Judaism is wrong, Christianity is right. But they won't say any way that Christianity could be wrong.
Yeah. It's also what's known as John Loftus. I mentioned him earlier. It's called the outsider test of faith. And it's essentially what we just said. I don't need to even repeat it. It's what we just said. You test all the other faiths, and you find them to be wrong because of this reason, this reason. Well, you get outside your own faith and test your own faith the way you would test theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the most profound things that was told me in college, it got me starting about my doubt, is because when I went for the drug and alcohol counselor, people always go, well, how did you end up with religious classes? Because it doesn't seem like they were in a psychology class they would teach us religion, but what they felt, because I wanted to do drug and alcohol, was they said that almost all drug and alcohol is AA, and thus believes in higher powers. So because because of that, you have to know religion, because religion is connected to addiction therapy. At least it is now. I hope it's one day never connected because it's ridiculous. But so they said so because it's connected, I needed to learn about other religions and even learn about Christianity. Everybody did. They forced everyone to do this. I had to take two classes, one on world religions, where we learned about every major religion in the world today, including Sikhism and Jainism and everything. I mean, we learned a whole bunch. I never even heard of some of these religions, But and then they made us take one class on the Bible. Well, when they went through the class of the world religions, the teacher made this statement, which I've now heard a couple of atheists say. She said, I will make a claim that I know that everyone in this class who's taking this class already thinks that whatever religion they were born into is the right religion. I will go further to say that you still believe, even if you're an adult, probably the religion that you were born into. And that probably your family also was born into. And everybody in the class, one person said it was true. One person was a Christian that turned to Buddhism, but everybody else actually, including me, but I thought just like, everybody else in the class, like, yeah, but, we know it's true. And I, at the time, thought the same thing. Yeah, you did make a good point, but that doesn't change that it's true.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Good point, but it's not.
Which I agree is cognitive dissonance. It's our brains, and that's what she was trying to say. Which I think is so funny, is it's almost like she was trying to give us doubt or something. But I think that her goal was not to turn us atheists. Her goal was to make sure that we didn't just push our own faith, and that we could actually counsel people of other faith. But what it started to do for me, just like it did for you, John, was I started going, well, if this works to question faith in general, why don't I just question faith in general?
Exactly.
And I just don't get how other people, once they're given the evidence like that, or the reason, how they don't just keep thinking. No one had to force it on me. I don't know. I guess I'm more wanting to stick to the truth than most people seem to be. And I don't care if the truth shows that what I think is false.
A lot of people don't care that much about truth. They just don't. And another thing is, a lot of people just don't think about it. But two, it's been said, big religions and beliefs like that offer you something that atheism and truth, I imagine. I'm not saying it as atheism and truth, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Atheism and truth don't offer. We don't offer everlasting life filled with bliss and amazingness. It's like, well, I understand how people, they sit there and they go, man, you made a really good point, but I'm still going to believe.
Yeah. Well, we also don't offer forgiveness.
Yeah. No.
Well, because think about it, how many people do something in their life they feel ashamed about? What better way than to be given forgiveness? Do you hear me?
You're breaking up there, Damien.
I said, most people in their life have probably done something that they, regret or wish hadn't happened. And what better way than to be given absolution and forgiveness?
Yeah. Forgiveness is basically saying, to me, forgiveness is basically saying what you did is okay.
Yeah.
And it is, because you can resent someone and say, well, you've done wrong, and I no longer resent you. I no longer hold animosity towards you, Damien, for doing X, Y, and Z. But that doesn't change the fact that what you did is wrong, and that I'm going to still feel a certain way. If I say, I forgive you, Damien, for doing X, Y, and Z, I've essentially said X, Y, and Z is okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, because we're going to go on as if it never happened.
Right. But I wasn't talking about forgiveness as for other people. I'm talking about for themselves. God will, I've heard that like no one can judge me because God has forgiven me. That's something atheists can't offer. No, we're gonna judge you. You killed little children. Yeah, no, that's not okay.
I was just about to say, I just got done murdering an orphanage. No one can judge me.
Yeah. No, atheists will judge you.
That's awesome. Do you have any more questions?
No. Do you have anything else you wanted to address or say?
Well, just I want to stress and have everybody understand that one thing that's very important is community. Talking with fellow non-believers, and breaking down barriers of misconception toward atheists. If you are an out atheist and one of your religious friends or a family member says something offhanded about atheists or this or that, correct them. Don't do it in a dick way, but just correct them. Because the more out we are, just like with the gay rights movement, with the LGBTQ community, get out there, be in the presence. Make it not a bad thing to say gay, but make it not a bad thing to say atheist.
Yeah, I agree. Like a lot of people think atheists don't have morals, or don't care, or not humanistic, or they think that atheists are Satanists, and that's just not true.
No, yeah, it's funny. And the other thing I would say is, just if you don't want to do any arguing or any apologetics, then get in the movement and help out. Do some local charity events. We do charity, other places do charities. Let's get out there and make the world a better place.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, and if you don't even want to do that, you can help support the ones that do.
Yes.
So, I mean, I tell people, like my page, join your meetup, join my meetup, join some other meetup, help, support some other atheists. You don't have to be the one that has to be in front of the camera or out there on the street, but you can show support to the ones that do.
Yeah. Be supportive, help out. It's little steps like this, like this video series, the interview series that you're doing, the meetup group that we run, going out there just doing outreach with a sign we have a sign that says high five an atheist.
Yeah.
And it's the best sign, because when you get high fives, those people are so fucking happy to see a fellow non-believer, because they hear all the time, not in this world, and God loves you, and I'll pray for you. And thank God that my cancer went away, not thank the scientists and the doctors who implemented the research that the scientists did for this cancer treatment to go away, or for the cancer to go away.
Yeah, I agree. So, how do you address when someone? Because I've heard someone before say, "Well, everyone knows there's a God, including atheists."
Oh, that's a precept. That's a precept right there. Let's see. How do I handle that? Well, I'll start with the dick answer. The dick answer is, well, you really know that you're gay, right? Like, you're gay. We know this. You know this. Or choose anything. Usually I say gay because most of the people that are saying that are staunch religionists, and being gay is bad.
Right.
But, say anything. I know you like to murder babies.
Yeah.
You know you like to murder babies. Don't deny it. Don't deny what you'd love to do. But, but for an actual answer.
Yeah.
No murdering baby answer. When they say you know God exists, I just look at them and say, first off, you don't know what's in my mind. It's absolutely arrogant for you to think you do. And secondly, I can just as easily say that you know God doesn't exist, and we're just standing here pointing fingers and making claims about one another that neither of us can know. So how about you just stop with the nonsense?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And not exactly the same thing on that, but I've said something very similar to that. That's why I had it ready and on hand.
Yeah,
and the gentleman I said that to, he looked at me and he just went, I get what you're saying, I'm sorry. He actually said, I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, yeah, I know some believers may be somewhat deluded, or very deluded, but usually I haven't found that many that are total assholes. Most of them, they really think they're helping you out, or they're trying to understand, or get you to understand. So I don't see all believers as bad people. I just see them as thinking stupid ideas that are not backed up by reason and evidence.
Yeah. No, I know. Excuse me, Michael Shermer. Michael Shermer has a book called The Believing Brain.
Right.
And in it, he talks about, let's just say, people who say they've been abducted by UFOs or something, or anything like that. That because they believe these things doesn't mean they're stupid. In fact, some of the smartest people can defend their stupid ideas very well because they're smart.
Yeah.
They just believe in something stupid. They believe in something that's not supported by evidence, and they use their intellect to support it as opposed to their intellect to prove it without a doubt.
Right. Yeah, I think that just because people have strong beliefs doesn't always mean that they came to those beliefs through reason and evidence. And to me, I always say that even if you believe you came by reason and evidence, you should be open to the truth to change upon new reason and evidence.
Yeah, because if you're not open to criticism and change of your position, then your position probably has no substance.
Yeah.
Your position has no substance. There's change over time. Not necessarily an upheaval, but a change.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've changed a lot as an atheist from when I first stopped, believing to now. I definitely have changed a lot. In fact, when I first started, I used to call myself a spiritual atheist, but that was just because I lacked also understanding of other ways of understanding. You see, when you're religious, you're given all these code words that you then have to learn to get rid of. That used to have a meaning. In other words, like God's not the only code word that you're taught. You're taught, faith. You're taught spiritual. You're taught, meaning of life, or you're taught what you think morality is. I mean,
supernatural.
Yeah, supernatural. So you're taught all these things that all conspiracy theories of reality. You're taught a whole bunch of them. So just removing the belief in God doesn't mean that your whole structure that you've built of all these conspiracies, and all these code words just go away in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. A good one. Polygamy. Think about the practice of polygamy.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, that's horrible, that's bad. Well, why is it bad?
Yeah.
Obviously, barring any kind of underage or non-consensual stuff, but consenting adults that want to be married to more than one person, and so do they, there's nothing wrong with that. The only time you run into that being wrong is if you have a religious bent.
No,
or assisted suicide.
Yeah, I agree. Just like I tell people that it's not inherently wrong either to have sex with relatives. If you're both adults should be able to make adult decisions. I mean, I'm not saying I personally want to do that, but I'm just saying that to think that it's always like, do you know that you could actually go to jail even as an adult in almost every state in the United States? Because at least I found that out as I was in Georgia, and this woman who was, I think, 38 or something, was having sex with the 20-year-old nephews or something, and they all got put in jail. I thought that was just outrageous. I'm like, they're all adults. I mean, I'm not saying people should run out and go do it, but I mean, they're adults making adult decisions, and none of them were, what's the crime?
There's no crime.
I mean,
I can see someone saying, oh, well, if you're going to have children, well, if we're going to have children, I can see a little bit because they may be born with defects or whatever. But if me and my sister, which I, never, oh God, no.
well, yeah, I'm not saying that it's the greatest thing to do. I'm just saying I don't see anything ethically wrong with it.
There's nothing.
I'm not. I mean, that's like I'm not gay. I don't want to have sex with men, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, the problem is like religion tells us things are inherently wrong that actually are not inherently wrong.
And a lot of those just creep into society. A lot of them creep right into society, and even though people are atheists, they still have these ties to religion that they don't even know they're religious.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I'm against circumcision for children because I feel like circumcision is unnecessary. What's so funny is they'll call it what is done to a female mutilation, but yet somehow it's not male mutilation. How is it any different? You are cutting off, and they say, well, it's not needed. So if someone were to cut off their baby's earlobe because they say, well, hell, it's not needed, and I want to do it, and I have the right to, would you think that's okay? How about tattooing, a part of their body? Well, no one's going to see it. I mean, you would say you can't until you're 18. Well, how do you justify touching their genitals and cutting off a piece that's unnecessary? It's just...
And what's funny is people want to they'll hide behind, they'll say, oh, well, there's science to show that it's sanitary and it cleans it's cleaner. No, there's not.
Yeah, no. And debate in general, even if it was, it still should be a child's choice. How do you choose for them? To me, it's a medically unnecessary procedure.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the earlobe. I'm going to use that in the future.
Well, I use that because some atheists started telling me that I'm being bigoted because I'm saying that it has to be a religious title. Like you said, I think it is a religious. What other function do you cut off something just because we know it comes from tribalism and Africa. That's where it comes from. Both female and male, both come from Africa. And it is religious. It's a rite of passage at the same time. It's not about cleanliness. It's about a rite of passage. They believe in the tribes in Africa. They have this belief that the foreskin on the penis is the sign of a woman. So they cut it off. They do it. They don't do it to babies. They do it as a sign of going into adulthood.
Yeah.
So they cut it off because then you become a man, no longer the female. The females, they cut it off because the clitoris is like a man. So they make a female into a woman. So once they get to adulthood, they then become, or teenager or whatever, and to go into adulthood, they cut it off because then now you are a woman, you're ready to marry. So it's really just ridiculous, superstitious bullshit, and to keep doing it in our scientific age, because so if you're not superstitious and you're not religious, why are you doing it? There is no need. It's either superstitious or it's thing. I've heard this bullshit thing. Well, I like how it looks. Well, it's not your genitals to do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so if you like, I'm just saying. So if you like a piercing, should you be allowed to pierce your child's genitals?
No.
I mean,
hey Damien, I got a child. My child. Look at, I just cut his penis. Look how cute it looks.
Yeah.
Look how cute that penis. Oh my God, no.
I was like, it's amazing how, though, like you said, how do you get to a rational position of atheism and then keep irrational beliefs? That doesn't make any sense to me. But, that's why we need to speak out against, like you said, to have skepticism and speak out with using rationality, too, and saying there's some things that we need to change that are just not rational.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And people need to be more courageous in standing up against injustices.
Yes.
And that can be as small as your coworker making an offhand joke. Well, my son, I should say joke, but making an offhand comment. If my son was gay, I'd beat the gay out of him.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You don't just walk by that. You don't just let that sit there. You turn around and go, you really would? you are, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. If you're the kind of person that would beat your child for something they have no control over, don't talk to me. You're an evil person. People need to hear that.
Yeah, it needs to be okay not to. That's why I always tell people. They say, well, it's so wrong to hate because hate is wrong. I said, no, the hate of injustice is actually the momentum that makes justice. Usually you hate something that's going wrong, and thus you want it to change.
Yeah, anger and hate, those things, they can absolutely be bad, they can absolutely be bad, no doubt. But those two emotions can really drive some magnificent social change.
Right.
The civil rights movement.
Right. If you didn't get angry about people being treated unfairly, then that means that you're okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the modern feminist movement. Look at feminism. Women absolutely have a right to be outraged at all the bullshit injustices that are happening to their bodies and to their livelihoods.
Yeah.
And men should be right next to them going, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I do, and some guys try to say that I'm just being, supporting misogyny, or I mean not misogyny, misandry, whatever it is it the other way around, whatever. No, I don't think women, like I made a statement before where I said that humanistically, if you look at humanistically, who does more harm to the human race, it's men. So I said, in a sense, why I don't like when they say, or women are as good as men, because it sounds like you're saying men are already good and women have to prove themselves. If you really want to say it correctly, it should be that women are good and men need to prove themselves. I do think that when I say that, though, people get confused. I'm not saying that somehow women are better and need to be over men or something. I'm just saying that our thinking of what equals good, because it goes back to axiology. What is good? That's the first question of axiology. What is good? Good is to promote well-being. And that's all I was trying to say, is that women in general, you mother and caring, if you look at all the violence, it's usually men, all the rape, usually men. I mean, so it's not that we can't be better, but we have to, like you said, be angry at the bullshit. Angry that we're so violent. Why are men so violent? One of the problems is not that women don't have violence in them. It's that we tell men from a young age, go fight, go prove yourself, prove you have balls, prove you're tough. We promote violence. We promote aggression. Instead of saying, no, you should show that you care. We put more effort in football than we do about doing, humanitarian cleanup. We should be. So it's not, I don't think that the problem is not that men can't be great. Men can be. I 100% believe in that. But we should promote it, and we should not be okay that it's not happening.
And it goes to people quite often don't understand feminism, and they think, it's man hating or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not. And my aunt, a little while ago, I told her, I was like, oh yeah, we're feminists. I said this, I said that. And she goes, well, I'm not a feminist, but I do think men and women should be equal. I said, then you're a feminist.
Yeah, I know. That's what I think. Like, I do tell people, I don't claim to be part of a feminist movement. In other words, there's like first wave, third wave, fourth wave feminism, or whatever. I'm a feminist. But then again, my feminism comes from humanity, my humanism, but it also comes from being an anarchist. Anarchists have been feminists since 18-something, In fact, there's a statement that people say, no gods, no masters. That's actually a feminist, anarchist union saying.
Oh, cool.
That's where it came from. Yeah, look it up. Yeah, the origin of that thing. That's what. So that always has been part of it. Because what it was saying is that no masters meant no masters like government, but also no masters in your own family. Men don't run you. That's what the statement basically was part of. It was written on a pamphlet given out to women. It was basically saying, men don't run you. No one should run anybody, and, including the family. It shouldn't be just. That's the problem to me with some people. They put it towards only political. Well, it has to do with family, and other structures, not just one form of hierarchy. I mean, any hierarchy. That's also why they don't get why, to me, a true anarchist should automatically be anti-God, or because God is another hierarchy. So
it's just funny because it's like everyone pays lip service to equality.
yeah,
They say, oh, everyone's equal, yeah. But when you say something about feminism or gay rights, they go, well, those groups are so extreme. No, everyone is about equality. Feminism is just focusing on the inequalities for women because there are so many. The gay rights activists are focusing on the inequalities for LGBTQ community because there are so many. You want to know why there's not a whitenism? Because there's not very many inequalities for people with this color skin.
yeah, no, I agree. That's like I don't think that the man's rights movement, is anything but to me, but just trying to allow themselves to be okay to be bigots. I mean, I don't support that at all. The other thing I wanted to say is that people try to say that if you're a humanist, that means you don't have to say you're a feminist or whatever. To me, once again, go look up what humanism means. Humanism means that humans can solve their own problems. So it's more like a rejection of theism in a sense than it is saying that you're a feminist. It doesn't really say that. What it's saying is that humans can solve human problems, that humans need to care about human problems. It's not saying that women are equal. It's not saying that gays have rights. It's not that it can't be used towards that, but I'm just saying that what the word means doesn't mean that you've now lost these other words. Other people say, well, I just say I'm a humanist. Okay, I agree. But that's like saying, that I'm a skeptic, and they say, well, are you an atheist? Well, I'm a skeptic. Well, are you an atheist? Well, I'm a skeptic.
I actually have a good analogy. I just thought of this analogy while you were explaining that. The way people react when they say, oh, well, I'm for equal rights, but I'm not a feminist.
Yeah.
It's like this, ready?
Yeah.
You have healthcare physicians or doctors, and you have some that are general, which they cover most everything. You have some that are pediatric.
Right.
You have some that are dentists, because even dentists are doctors. They focus in one area. So it's like it would be like a dentist, it would be like a doctor going, well, I'm all for good health, but I'm not a dentist.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those dentists who focuses, who's all about teeth.
Exactly. Yeah, I find one thing too is I find it interesting where they don't get that. To me, males are benefited by feminism also. I tell people I'm a really big guy. I mean, you've met me, but I mean, people that haven't only seen me on Facebook and see how I do my cat posts a lot and I'm pretty nice and stuff. They really don't know how big I am. I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm a tough guy, and I fought a lot in my life. I don't do that now, but I mean, they don't realize that I don't come to it because I'm somehow weak or whatever. But the point is, I see the value. Once again, about axiology, I see the value of care. Care to me now, I see the value, what it does for society, what it does even for me, what it does for other people, and being fair and justice. These things have a value to me that I see is very important. And so I think that why I think that it's important to have as many labels as it takes, to support things. I mean, it's like, it reminds me of when people say about the humanism only thing. It reminds me that people in general like easy answers. They like they want the cliff notes. Don't give me everything. Just give me the cliff notes. So I think what they do though is they take that as a moral position, that it's better to only have cliff notes. Because I hear people go, I don't want all kinds of labels. Well, yeah, because that would be bad, to have all kinds of detailed, positions. Who the hell wants that,
We've articulated our position so well that we have different categories.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
You're radical.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, so, but they make it a moral position, or try to, that it's better to have the simplest cliff notes instead of have a detailed, actual, opinions. And I just find that it's okay to do that, but don't think that you're superior because you've done that.
The next time someone ever says that, tell them, yeah, you think that, humanism just covers the whole thing? What about all men are created equal? Sure, you can say that covers the whole thing, but it leaves a lot of gaps. It leaves a lot of wiggle room. It allows for injustices to creep in underneath and for you to go, well, everyone's equal? Oh, everyone's equal?
Well, yeah, well, so some people try to say that too about everything being equal. But if that's true, then a tree has the same rights as a human being.
Yeah.
If everything is equal, then dirt, we should care about moving dirt as we care about, human life. And I find that to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then again, that an axiological atheist is an anthropomorphic position that says humans are best, and I have no problem with that. I feel bad and I think there's value in animals, but if you kill a dog or you kill a human, I'm sorry, I care more about that you killed a human.
Yeah, amen. The human means more the value system that we have.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I think that in general, though, that they forget, like you said, they try to say that everything is the same, but that's not really how they hold things, not in reality. It sounds good. It's a good catchphrase. Hey, everything has value. Yeah, sure it does. I agree. But it doesn't have equal value. And to say but the problem is, too, is that I think some people, which axiology does not do, but some people will take anthropomorphism for humans and make it where only thing that matters is human. Now, I don't agree to that.
That's an incorrect position. Humans matter a lot, but the only thing that matters is not humans. Animals very, very much matter. Our Earth matters. And it's not just for the sustainability of our species. It matters because animals are independent, sentient entities. We shouldn't be cruel to them, but I have no problem eating meat.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no problem with either. Through evolution, it's like having a problem with the lion eating meat. I mean, to me, I do think we can do it more humanely, but I agree with you too. Although I would say that if we could figure out through science, because I'm all for science, to come up with a GMO, beef that tastes just like beef and is able to do it without killing animals, hell, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't have no problem with eating frankenfood. I mean, I'm for science. I mean, so if science can make something better that doesn't harm, well, then even better. I mean, I don't have to kill things to get food.
No, the day that we can make bacon in the laboratory, like just straight up make it like boom, boom, in little beakers, and out comes some bacon, and it tastes good. That's the day that I say we go and start just dismantling farms.
Yeah, exactly.
And dismantling all the meat. Like, let all the pigs go. Let every pig go.
Yeah, but I like that you're not anti-GMO. I repost some of your stuff in my group, and because I almost have heard of no atheists that have our position. I don't know, but all. But it just seems like not that many are willing to be pro-GMO. I mean, or at least against anti-GMO.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The genetically modified food is so important in fighting the hunger problem of our world.
Oh, yeah.
Golden rice. I mean, golden rice has the ability to squash vitamin A deficiency and child blindness.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, it's like someone said that, what if they could make, GMO marijuana for medical marijuana? I was like, wonderful. What if they could do it so people that don't want to get high? What if they could do all the benefits and none of the stuff that makes you get high, so people could have it and have it be an actual drug? I'm all for science.
Yeah. Oh, Damien, this is a really fun conversation.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your time. I think it's about time that we call it, thing. And I've missed, talking to you. I always, enjoyed talking to you when I was living there. And definitely, the biggest thing I miss about California is being around you and Jen and the other people at Raft. I mean, it sucked that I live 50 miles away, but I was willing to drive because that's how awesome you guys are.
Oh man, I'll tell you, we did an outreach and we just missed you. We the whole time Jen and I looked at each other like, Damien would love it out here. Love you. It was cold, but it was fun.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I agree.
And I'll tell you right now, Damien, I greatly miss you. Very, very much.
Thanks. I feel the same. Well, it's been great talking to you, and I'm sure other people will hopefully enjoy the video.
You know what? Hell, you know I'm going to PM you on Facebook after this.
All right. See ya.